Today our first question, making hospitalization affordable bring readily noticeable relief. There is no alternative to strengthening primary health care in the pursuit of an efficient health system. Discuss. So making hospitalization affordable bring readily noticeable relief. There is no alternative to strengthening primary health care in the pursuit of an efficient health system. So answer is primary health care system is the first point of combat between the health system and person. In case a person falls sick, its main aim is to provide a local care to a patient, because professional related to primary care are normal generalist. Need for strong primary health care system. Primary health intervention help detect diseases early and well before complications set in. It reduces the need for expensive secondary and tertiary healthcare. Of the total current expenditure on health classified by healthcare function, preventive care accounts for 66.7%, while spending on the curbing for people account to 51% of the total expenditure on health. Developed nations such as UK, Australia, Canada, Netherlands, and Sweden spend a large share of their federal healthcare budgets on primary care. India has been spending huge amount in care of non-communicable diseases, which can only be won through a primary health system that ensures that chronic diseases are not only detected early, but also that preventive action is taken to ensure improved lifestyle. 6. Unavailability of PHC from government leads to heavy burden of out-of-pocket expenses on consultations and drugs. Second question. So highlight the effectiveness of UNSC bans on terrorist groups. What other international mechanisms are available with India to defeat the harmful objectives of international terrorist groups? Effectiveness of UNSC ban on terrorist groups. So international mechanisms are available with India to defeat the harmful objectives of international terrorist group. UNSC ban. The ban will subject the person and the group to global travel ban, assessed free and arms embargo. Challenges the process, follows arbitrary procedures for terrorist blacklisting and individual or organization, limitation of consensus and veto by members like China. Lack of support from host country like Pakistan renders the resolution ineffective. The committee is being criticized for being non-transparent, and in recent time there is demand for its reform to address procedural shortcomings. Other mechanisms like FATF blacklisting and United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, UN Counter-Terrorism Implementation Task Force, UN Counter-Terrorism Committee, and 18 universal instruments, 14 instruments and 4 amendments against international terrorism have been elaborated within the framework of the UN system relating to specific terrorist activities. Bilateral and multilateral mechanism on information and intelligence exchange between countries. Next question. As for the information revealed by the RTI, total of 384 tigers have been killed by poachers across the country in the last 10 years. Discuss the reasons which create hurdles in elimination of poaching and laws and mechanisms available in India against it. So answer. Hurdles in eliminating poaching. So because of difficult terrain, support of local groups or to organized criminal gangs due to poverty, lack of infrastructure, weak law enforcement mechanism, lack of coordination between the administration and law enforcement, disasters in the protected areas, ineffective and cumbersome intelligence gathering mechanism, lack of monetary resources and modern equipment, and absence of anti-trafficking and anti-poaching tools, manpower, vehicles, and skilled enforcers. enforced. Okay. Mechanism available. Wildlife Protection Act has stipulated strict punishment which include present terms and fines. Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. So Wildlife Protection Act has stipulated strict punishment which include present terms and fines. Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, Traffic India pioneered and pioneered the training of the sniffer dogs and wildlife protection in India back in 2008. India is member of organizations like CITES, CMS, that arrest cross-border trade of wildlife. Protected areas. 5 protected areas in the country also provide a shield against wildlife trade. 4. Lightning throw, less talked about, but is one of the major cause of hundreds of deaths foretold during rainy seasons around the world. Discuss the steps taken by the government in India for safeguard the people from lightning and suggest what more can be done. Lightning strikes are common in India during heavy monsoon rains. At least 2,000 people have died lightning strikes in India every year since 2005. According to the National Crime Record Bureau, the lack of reliable warning systems is often cited as one reason for the high number of deaths. Another is that large number of people work outdoors in India compared to other parts of the world, which makes them more vulnerable. States collect proper statistics and conduct research on how to reduce fatalities. Apart from the Indian Meteorological Department, the only research center that studies lightning and advises citizens in the Lightning Awareness and Research Center, started by the Center for Innovation in Science and Social Action, empowering SDMA and local bodies to act against it. Preventive measures like awareness generation through focused IEC activities. So next question, the UBI. The UBI is neither an antidote to the vagaries of market forces nor a substitute for basic public services. However, there is a strong case for direct income transfer to some vulnerable groups. Comment. UBI is neither an antidote to the vagaries of market forces nor a substitute for basic public service. However, there is a strong case for direct income transfer to some vulnerable groups. Comment. Limitation of UBI, and it believes that all existing forms of social security transfer are inefficient. While there is certainly some exaggeration in such claims, it is not true that the system of cash transfers is efficient and therefore leakage proof. Several studies on cash transfer, including one by JPL South Asia for Niti Aayog, found that cash transfer are not greatly superior in case of leakages compared to other schemes, and in kind transfer such as public distribution systems. And 3, the obsession with cash transfer also comes with the understanding that this will take care of all problems. It cannot solve the agrarian crisis, malnutrition, educational deficit, and also the job crisis. Need for direct income transfer, and a proposal for UBI was rejected by a 3/4 majority in Switzerland. Finland, which started a pilot, has now discontinued it. But even in Finland, the pilot was not a strict UBI, but a social protection scheme aimed at only the unemployed. Well, there have been some pilots by NGOs in developing countries in Asia and Africa. They have varied in content to transfer and coverage, with only few wings fully universal, and only the Namibia pilot experiment provided income transfer to people in the poverty line. It helps in the small and marginal farmers invest in their farm productivity. It reduces fall to extreme poverty for the families that are living on the border of poverty line. It enables spending on essential lives, nutrition, health and education. 6. For people not benefited from economic growth, various welfare schemes have also failed to bring them out of penury. In urban areas, contract workers and those in the informal sector face problems from rapid pace of automation of low-skilled jobs and formalization of the retail sector. Income receipts can come in handy as interest-free working capital for several categories of beneficiaries: fruit and vegetable vendors and small artisans, thereby promoting their business and employment in the process. Next question: development projects in tiger habitats and the fragmentation of migration corridors have caused increase in man-animal conflict, and there is need for a rethink of conservation policies. So, impact of linear infrastructure on wildlife habitat loss. There is a direct loss of habitat during establishment and maintenance of roads, highway, and railways lines due to clearance of vegetation, dumping of excavated earth and materials, movements of heavy vehicles, etc. Heavy fragmentation. Road and railway lines dissect contiguous habitat patches, resulting in smaller patches and consequent decline in biodiversity due to increased outer disturbance. Degradation of habitat quality. Wildlife habitat adjacent to rail and roads often suffers from various detrimental impacts from the invasion of exotic species, pollution due to liquid, solid waste, and emissions. Noise induced psychological and behavioral changes in animals. Traffic noise is often attributed to cause significant psychological and behavioral issues in animals, especially birds. Traffic noise directly interferes with birds' vocal communication and consequently their territorial behavior and mating. And barrier of to movement, roads or other linear features restrict or filter animal movement. The barrier affection wildlife may arise from traffic noise, vehicular movement, pollution, human activity, and physical hindrance. Increased human-wildlife conflict. Roads and railways may disrupt normal habitats of animals, forcing them to move out to human habitats, thus increasing the risk of human-animal conflict, injury, and mortality. Road and rail-induced injury and mortality has been one of the prime concerns for wildlife conservation. With an expanding infrastructure, according to government sources, 49 elephants were killed in railways accident in 2016 to 18 in India. Highest deaths occurring in West Bengal and Assam. Overhead transmission lines, electric fences pose significant threat to sort of electrocution for birds, arboreal animals, and ever bigger mammals like elephants. Steps taken by the government policy such as there is an urgent need for formulation of a comprehensive and broadly applicable national policy to address the adverse effect of linear infrastructure on wildlife and smart and green infrastructure. It is important to adopt ecologically sound practices and alternatives to harmful linear intrusions in natural areas. Such measures could include natural crossings, that is canopy brigades in Chakrasila Wildlife Sanctuary, and underpass, overpasses, etc. Technological application can help prevent rail and road accidents by providing alters to drivers and forest officials for the use of electric prevention. New linear infrastructure projects that disregard Ministry of Environment and Forest Climate Forest and Climate Change guidelines, and do not incorporate wildlife friendly design and crossing structure should not be permitted by designated protected areas and critical habitats, and speed reduction of vehicles in an important measure to stop road kills, and these are already being implemented, that is speed breakers, and that is on the major OT road passing through Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. There need to be a revaluation of the existing roads and railway lines in protected area, and railing closure of these detrimental structure and necessary studies. Next question: Government's December 20 order based on Section 69(1) of the Information Technology Act 2000 is an attempt to protect privacy of citizens. Critically evaluate. So government notified an order authorized 10 central agencies to monitor, intercept and decrypt information which is transmitted, generated, stored in or received by any computer. It was issued in pursuance of powers stipulated in Section 69 of the Information Technology Act 2000, which enables government agencies to intercept personal information of citizens under certain conditions. Challenges: Section 69 Act of IT, Section 9 of IT Act, is so broadly worded that it could enable mass surveillance to achieve relatively far less serious aims, such as preventing the incitement of the commission of a cognizable offence. Under Section 69, the government can intercept personal information under any of the following conditions: when it is necessary, in the interest of the Indian sovereignty and integrity, security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, and for preventing incitement to the commission of any cognizable offence related to these. While the first four features in Article 19(2) of the Constitution, the first last, namely preventing incitement to commission a cognizable offence, is not an enumerated restriction. A restriction in the form of authorized surveillance would not be justified unless it is in order to maintain public order, a reasonable restriction under Article 19(2). Why it is beneficial, it limits the surveillance power to only the organizations mentioned in the order. Even within the order, permission has to be obtained before a citizen's activities are monitored. It is ensured that surveillance is done as per due process of law. Surveillance is necessary in the modern world, where modern tools of information commission, including encryption, is used. Surveillance is done only in the defense of India to maintain public order. The law mandates the center state to constitute a review committee with the cabinet secretary. So next question are: so complexities of forest fires need to be understood. It is crucial part of the forest ecosystem. Comment: a group of scientists have submitted a paper that proves the importance of the forest fire in protecting areas, protecting certain ecosystems. The benefits are forest fire helps revive dormant seeds of many species. Even young woody trees survive ground fires and have higher growth rates immediately post-fire until they reach a certain height. Fires, along with seasonal droughts, are important drivers of dry deciduous tracts across Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. Fires even suppressing invasive species. Tribal communities use small litter fires, but just before the dry season to control invasive species. Controlled fires in areas that have huge fuel loads around December can help prevent as well reduce the impact of large fires later in the season. If an area is continuously protected from fire, it could catch fire once in 4 years or so because of the high accumulation of grass and woods and twigs.